Welcome, this is Black Lotus, your YouTube script kiddie, and today I will be performing part 2 of 2 for my basic data science classification model. So in the previous part, I put together a model and I saved my model as a pickle file. And this is the GUI application I'm going to make. I'm going to be using NumPy, Pickle, and Tkinter. And in this GUI application, I want to have a window with an appropriate title, a header at the top, 9 entry boxes. These will be permanent entry boxes in my GUI app. I want a predict button, delete button, and a quit button. The predict button, when clicked, will display a label that shows the predicted class and a label that reads class probabilities followed by all the class probabilities. A delete button that will remove that predicted text, and a quit button that will close the entire program. And to make this GUI application possible, I'm going to need 4 methods. One that will load my model when saved. I'm going to need a permanent header, buttons, and entry creating widgets method. I'm going to need a method that will perform the predictions itself, and then a method that will delete the predictions if I want to make another prediction. So I'm going to start off by creating a class, and I'm going to call this class application and inherit from tk.frame. And I will pass for now. I need a, well, let's define my init and then pass. I'm going to need my method that will get my model, so we'll call this getModel. And it will be an instance variable, so we'll just pass self for now. I'm going to need my create widgets method, so create widgets. I'm going to want a prediction method, so I will call this predict class. And finally, I'm going to want my delete method in order to delete the text. So delete text. And then pass. Okay, so I have my 4 methods that will make the GUI application work, and an init, and an initializer. So in my initializer, I'm going to want to pass itself, and then a root variable. I'm going to want my model path. And for my purposes, I'm going to specify a font. If you don't want to specify a font, that's fine. Just don't include this as an init argument. Since I am inheriting, I want to make sure that I don't repeat calls or anything of that nature. So I'm going to use my super and pass it root. Okay. And then I'll just set up my instance variables. So self.root is equal to root. Self.modelPath is equal to modelPath. And then self.font is equal to font. In addition to this, I'm going to need an instance variable for my model, so I'll just call this self.model. And then I'll have a default argument of none. And then when I call getModel, I will fill in the self.model variable. And in addition to that, I want labels or instance variables such as labels and entry boxes that will be permanent. So we'll just say labels that will be shown when a prediction is made and deleted when the user wants to make another prediction. Okay, so self.entries will be my entry boxes, and this will be a dictionary. Self.prediction label, and I'll specify none for now. And then self.class labels, which will be an empty list. Okay, so those are my initialized variables. I am going to now fill out my get model, and for get model, in addition, well, let's see here. I'm going to want to specify my model path and then change my self.model variable. So this is with open, and then self.model path. I have a pickle file, so it'll be a binary file as pickle file. And then self.model will be pickle.load pickle file. All right, that does it for the get model. Here is one of the two tricky methods here. So as specified up top, I want my first widget to be, or not my first widget, but I want a header label at the top. So to do that, we'll call tk.label, pass it self, and I want the text to equal predict shuttle class. Just going to leave it pretty simple for now. And for my font, I'm going to specify a tuple, self.font, which is the font I will pass in. And for this header, I'll want size 24. And at the end of that, I'm going to pack it in. Okay. Now, I also need to create my entry widgets so that I can put in the variables that I want to make the prediction for. So for entry, in range 9, because in my there are 9 there are 8 or 9 features that I can put into my model to make a prediction. So this will be from 0 to 8, which is 9. Self.entries, again, that's referring to this empty dictionary. Self.entries, and I will give it the key value of entry, or E for short, and then entry. And that will be equal to tk.entry. And for this entry, I will specify self and the font. So font equals self.font. And then for each of these, I'm going to have size 12. And I'm going to specify another loop, and this one is going to take each of those entry fields and put in a placeholder that tells the user what they should put in for each of those boxes. So for feature and entry, comma entry, and enumerate self.entries.values. So I'm going to take every value. I'm going to insert at the beginning the statement feature, and then followed by the feature. And that will be my temporary placeholders. And then, of course, since they are entry fields, I need to pack each one. Okay, now I need my predict button. So self.predict button will be equal to Tkinter button, and I'm going to pass it self. The text will be predict class. The command that I want to run, or the method I want to call when I click on this button, will be self.predict class. And I get that name from the placeholder method I have down here. And then, of course, I'm going to specify a font, which is a tuple of self.font, and then the size that I want. And for this one, I'm going to have it size 16. And as always, you need to pack any widget or specify it in a grid, but I'm going to pack it. I want my delete button, so self.delete button is equal to tk.button. Pass it self, pass it a default text, and I'm going to keep it simple here and just say delete. The command will be delete text, so self.delete text, and specify a font. Again, do not have to specify a font if you don't want to. Try to make it look a little bit nice. Most of my skills come from the actual modeling process and not from design, but if I can help myself a little bit, I will. So self.delete button .pack. And then finally I want a quit button. So self.quit is equal to Tkinter button. Pass it self, pass it a text. This one, keep it simple, so we'll call this one quit. Command will be equal to self.root.destroy. And that is the command to, when you hit Control-C or exit out of a Tkinter GUI application, that is in fact the command that is executed. And then font. Destroy, and then font will be equal to self.font. And for my quit button, I'm going to have it size 14. And for this one, I always want my quit button to be at the bottom. So I will call pack and specify the side will be equal to bottom. Okay, it looks about right. So go ahead and save that and start on my predict class method. For my predict class method, it's going to be using my random forest that I saved in part 1, and it's going to be utilizing the predict method. So I'm going to start off by saying features is equal to a rounded percentage in 64, my entry.get, and I want to specify 4 decimal places. And this entry is this entry.get is going to be for entry in self.entries.values. So again, the entry dictionary up here once it is filled in with the created widgets. And entry is all the entries, these values are TK entries. So to get the value when this button, predict button, is clicked, you would specify the get method of that entry. Now that sounds a bit confusing out loud, but that is how the predict button will work when it's calling predict class. For this one, I want features array, and I need to turn this list comprehension into an array. specifically a NumPy array because I am using scikit-learn, and it's going to need a flattened array. So just see in here, so np.array, and pass it my features. And then to flatten it, I will reshape to 1, -1. I'm going to have a prediction variable, and this is the main prediction that my model will predict. And I will be calling self.model.predict and pass it my features array. And then for my probabilities, I'm going to have another list comprehension, and I want to specify a class with the index, and I'll explain what the index is in a moment, colon, space, plus a string of a % times 100, and then I want to concatenate a % symbol, and this will be for index percentage and enumerate self.model.predict proba. And predict proba is a method for models in scikit-learn, and again that will be my features array. And my features array will end up being within an enumerate. Okay, and because it is a NumPy prediction or a scikit-learn prediction, I have to actually specify within the actual list where I want the percentage, and that will be in the first index. And I also want to start this at 1. So that will actually be within the enumerate itself. Okay. Now I need to display the temporary variables. So self.prediction label, and this self.prediction label is specified as an initialized variable. Tkinter label, pass itself, and the text, shuttle prediction, and I want to have my actual prediction. Here we go. And I want that to be size 18. And then I also need my self.prob label. So I don't think, nope. And this is going to be getting everything out of the class labels that's initialized. Class probabilities. And each one of these is going to also it's going to be size 16. I need to pack these. All right, and now I need to loop through each of my probabilities. I need to display a label for them. Then I need to loop through each of my class labels and then pack them. So for probability, in probabilities is referring to this variable up above it. Self.class labels. I want to append a label. Okay. And in that label, each label will inherit itself, have the text probability, and be size 14. Okay, so those will be my class labels. And now I want to loop over each class label. I'm going to pack each label. And then there's one final thing I need to do for the predict class, and that's to disable the predict button if a prediction is currently being made and it hasn't been deleted. And do that is by specifying the state will be equal to disabled. Okay, and that does it for the predict class method. There's one final method left, and that is the delete text. Let's give this a little bit of space here. And I want to specify, if I want to delete the text, I want to specify that my prediction label will need to be destroyed. I will need to specify my probability label will need to be destroyed. I need to destroy each one of my class labels that have been displayed. I need to clear that class labels variable. Because it is a list, and therefore clearing will clear it out. And then I need to return the predict button back to normal. All right. And the final thing to do is to run it. So I will specify root tk.tk. My title for this GUI application will be shuttle classification prediction application. My actual application will be an instance of my application. Going to pass it my root as my root. And my font of choice will be JetBrains Mono. Going to pack my app. Going to get my model. Oh, and I just realized I also need to specify a model path. So my model path will be equal to, let's see here, it is just called shuttle model.pickle. Okay, get model, and I need to create my widgets. And I need to have it as a main loop to keep it running. And if everything goes well, this should work. And I'm actually preparing for some hiccups here, so. Tkinter has no attribute tk. Okay, I found my mistake. It should be tk dot capital T lowercase k, and save that. Okay, let's try this again. So Python GUI app.py. I have a error on line 51, so let's change that from vels to values. And once again, there we go. Got it. All right, let's give some dummy variables. So everything is numeric. Going to predict class just to see how it looks. I have my header, my entry fields, my predict button. Shuttle prediction is 1, class probabilities, and all the class probabilities. And let's give it actual shuttle numbers. So I'm going to pick a few entries from my test.py just to see how it works. And the first one should be a classification of prediction 4, so 55, 0, 81, 0, -6, 11, 25, 88, and 64. The prediction is class 4 and the probability is 100%. Let's give it another one. That should be class 5. So we'll say 79, 0, 84, 0, 30, -36, -196, 4, 120, and 116. That should be class 5, and it is with 100%. And the final one will be for class 2. So let's delete this and say 51, 23, 77, 0, 28, 0, 26, 48, and 22. And shuttle prediction 2, class 2 94%, class 3 1%, class 4 is 5%. Okay, and there you have it. That is the GUI application for my basic data science classification. Just a recap, let's get rid of all these comments up here. I built a class, initialized some variables, some that are permanent, some that are to be deleted. I specified a get model variable to change my self.model instance variable. I have a method to create my permanent widgets, of which is a prediction class, which we'll call this predict class. Another which is a delete button, which we'll call this delete text method. And then a quit button. I then specified my main loop down here, tk.tk with a lowercase k for both of them. Specified a title, made a object from my application class, packed it, got the models, created the widgets in the main class. If you watched this all the way through, thank you for watching, and I hope you got something out of it.